Good morning.
Today's reading, Psalm 23, page 662. The Good Shepherd. You, Lord, are my shepherd. I will never be in need. You let me rest in the fields of green grass. You lead me to streams of peaceful water, and you refresh my life. You are true to your name, and you lead me along the right path. I may walk through way as dark as death, but I won't be afraid. You are with me, and your shepherd's rod makes me feel safe. You treat me to a feast while my enemies watch. You honor me as your guest, and you fill my cup until it overflows. Your kindness and love will always be with me each day of my life, and I will live forever in your house. Lord, amen.
This may not be the translation that you remember as a child. There are lots of translations out there, lots of them. And when we were at Bible and Bagels this morning, I know Julio shared his translation from the New Jerusalem Bible. And again, it changes the word want to need. My needs are fulfilled. Because there is a difference, isn't there? I was using the example that I might want a 3,000 square foot home, but do I need it? That's the question. And other than that, no matter what version of this psalm you use, it's one that touches your heart. It's one when you're afraid, when you might be in really great danger, that you say it to yourself. And just know that no matter what happens, God is with you. I have a book that I wanted to share with you. It's called The Lord is My Shepherd, and it's written by Harold Kushner. And he was the rabbi that wrote the book, Why Bad Things Happen to Good People. And he has probably the greatest example in his life of not knowing which way to turn and thinking, you know, life is unfair. And it is, isn't it? A lot of things that happen to us we really don't deserve. We're at the mercy of other people. Or the circumstances beyond our control. In the case of Harold Kushner, he and his wife wanted a baby so much. And years went by, and finally the beautiful little baby, Aaron, that was his name, was born. And they started noticing very early on that something was very, very wrong. He had that condition, I don't know the name of it, where you age real fast and you usually die in your early teens. And that's what happened to his little boy. And they went to the best doctors, they sought the best medical advice they could, and nothing could really save him. And they watched this wonderful child just literally age. He looked like he was in his 90s when he died. And he died at the age, I think he was 13. And that is a really dark, deep valley in one's life, isn't it? And things happen, and we're afraid. We don't know what to do. I remember as a child, I never was allowed to go to Sunday school. But you know how grandmothers are sometimes? They will say, now don't tell your mom, but I want to teach something to you. And that's what my grandmother did. And she taught me the 23rd Psalm. But I wasn't to let my mother know, all right? I had to keep it a secret. And I remember when I was about 10 years old, I went to the movies. And it was a one theater with just one film going. And it was, in those days, they had like, kind of like on Saturdays, or they would have like kiddie films, or things appropriate for children. And there was this man that was in the theater, and I had noticed him before, that he would, I was thinking, why would somebody that age go to a kiddie film when he didn't have any kid with him? He obviously wasn't somebody's grandfather or father with a kid. He was by himself. And even at age 10, I kind of had my suspicions. And so one day, and I would go by myself, I walked out of the theater and he said, "Hey, wait a minute." Oh my gosh, I think that's how I learned how to run so fast. I mean, I tore down that street, and it was a busy street, Pacific Avenue in San Pedro, and I ran so fast, and I mean, I wasn't even out of breath. I was so terrified, because even though my parents never told me about these so-called friendly strangers, I knew something was wrong. And I remember as I was running, what came to my mind? The 23rd Psalm. You talk to a lot of people who've, and I was safe, of course, because I'm here today, right? And I've talked to a lot of people who've been in the service, and they've been in a really dangerous situation, and they don't know whether they're going to make it alive out of a situation. And what often, I don't know about your experience, Michael, but often it's the 23rd Psalm that comes to you. You may have not been in church for a long, long time, but it's something that comes back to you. The Lord is my shepherd. Okay? And no matter how bad it is, how scary it is, how traumatic it is, you feel that even though you may feel alone, you know that God is by your side. Other people face tragedies in their lives. Some people become homeless. Some people who are really living up to their paycheck month to month find out that their services are no longer needed. What do? Are you going to be okay? Are you going to have to sleep in your car? You know that God is not going to leave you. That God will always be by your side. That is the one thing you can always count on. We can't always count on people, can we? We don't always have people say, "Well, here, come stay with me, no problem. I know that you are in dire straits." No. But we do know that God is with us. And if we have to sleep in our car, God will be there. And I really found this out from a girlfriend of mine who is a social worker here in Arcadia. Arcadia has a reputation of being a very wealthy area. Well, let me tell you, there are a lot of people living in Arcadia that are far from wealthy. A lot of them live on the back side of the Santa Anita racetrack. And they're paid minimum wage. And some of them have a number of mouths to support. But there is hope there, mainly from religious folks like Deacon Arnie Lopez from Holy Angels Church, who's there with them and helps them. And there are people here, too, who are far from wealthy, and they really are living from paycheck to paycheck. And what a lot of them will do is they will get an apartment, and there are some apartments just off of Santa Anita, and you might have 8 people living in there. Well, of course, they don't let the landlord know that initially, that they plan on having that many people live there. But that's how they make ends meet. And I've had a number of these folks tell me that they know God is with them, and they'll be all right. They want the best education they can for their children, and so they just kind of quadruple up with people so they will make that possible. I am so glad that my grandmother had the courage to teach me this song. It means a lot to me, and I hope it means a lot to you, because it reminds you, even though we're all vulnerable, we can really face some very scary situations. But it doesn't matter. Our God is not out there watching somebody else and not with you too. What I hope more than anything is that we are all able to feel God's presence, that we know that no matter what happens, our God is there. I think on my youth that even though I didn't own a Bible in my house, in fact, the first time I read the Bible when I was 46, and you think, oh my gosh, you went all those years, how could you do that? Yeah, I did. But I did know the 23rd Psalm. And there are so many times in my life where it kind of was a mantra. And I said it over and over and over. I hope it becomes a mantra to all of us. That no matter what, no matter how scared you might be, it could be a sickness, like in the case of someone I just met at Methodist Hospital who discovered that she had pancreatic cancer, which is very, very serious. Or the person who wrote that beautiful song that we sang today, it is well with my soul. How many people could actually write something like that unless God was so present in their lives? He lost his family. He wasn't even with them. He couldn't even say goodbye to them. They were on a ship, on a cruise, and he was at home working. And then he got word that this had happened to his wife and daughters. How can you say it's all well? In most people's situations, their life is over when they lose their whole family. But he, after lots of prayer, finally could say, it is well with my soul. I hope we can all say that. I hope we can all use this song. I hope we can turn to others and be like grandparents, no matter what their age is, and to share this with them. And if they ever ask you, what do you do when you're frightened? What do you do when you get some really bad news? How can you cope? 23rd Psalm. And you repeat it over and over again. Amen.